Someone once shared with me this woman, young lady. She was like, Terrain, I have all these bills. Terrain, I don't know if I'm gonna find love. I'm getting older in life. Terrain, I worry about all these things. Her mind was never at ease, never at peace. And some of the worries was because in her previous relationships, the men that she would date didn't show up in the way that she needed them to show up. So when she got injured, they couldn't help her through the injury. So she had to go back to work, still recovering from the injury. And I look at all the people who struggle and who worry so much, and you begin to pinpoint certain parts of their life where it originates from.
Mhm.
When you look at your journey, or when you look at some of the clients, or maybe just people in general, is a lot of that worry maybe then coming from an unresolved childhood trauma or something from their past that continues to show up and they're like, I wonder what this is and where it's coming from.
Absolutely. It can come from many things. It can come from an unresolved trauma. It can come from your environment that you were raised in. Sometimes it comes from generational um, programming, right? And so we have these ways that we're programmed by the way we're raised, by our culture, what we're told, how to be, act. And there can be sometimes deep-rooted things that have happened in our past that keep resurfacing. And so what happens is a mind that isn't trained in looking at this and doing this inner work tends to think, oh, this is just the way it is. People don't keep showing up for me. No one's willing to help me out. Everything goes wrong. My life isn't whatever. And what it is the more that they say that, they're just going to keep seeing the evidence of it. Because if you're constantly saying, this is all the things that are going wrong, I can't pay my bills, right? I can't find love. That is all you're going to see because you're just affirming that's your life. You have to change your thinking to change your results. Otherwise, that's all you'll see. And every time something happens in our life, it is an opportunity to learn and grow. Even in the moment when it can feel very difficult and we may feel unsupported, unloved, alone, fearful, when we have these practices on board, we can sit with, okay, how is this an opportunity and what can I learn from it? And every lesson in life tends to be repeated until we learn it. So, an example I give is when people keep ending up in jobs where they end up with a really difficult boss who's maybe a micromanager or who keeps criticizing them. That's because that's their own inner story. You're only going to keep attracting what you believe about yourself. Till you change yourself and what you believe and you think differently, then you make different choices and then you don't keep entering into roles or in relationships with someone who isn't going to see who you really are, your true authentic self, be kind to you and not criticize you. But ultimately, it has to come from the way you think.
How do we then identify the way that we think and which part of that is causing us to not find out what we want to find out when it comes to happiness?
So it's finding someone to help you, a coach, somebody who does this type of professional um, growth journeys. I mean, there's so many wonderful people out there. For some people, it is finding therapy. But for me, it's finding someone I really find what's beneficial. And what was beneficial for me was looking at my own mind. And that was through meditation and mindfulness and being trained in how to see my own habits and behaviors and where they weren't serving me anymore. So I'll give an example. For me, I grew up in a culture in a family of five, and it was always blaming others for things. So if something didn't go my way, or I wasn't being heard, or whatever it was, I wasn't getting what I wanted, it was blame, blame, blame. But that's what I was taught. It was witnessed, modeled, communicated within my family system. So as I grew up, I went to college and then I went into work. And so I would always blame the markets, my boss, friends, always blaming. And what I've learned through all of this wonderful journey is that, oh, wait, this is my mind creating this. And that when I'm blaming others, it just means there's a need not being met for me. And it's causing an emotional response. And so I have to trace it back to what's not being met for me right now. Maybe I'm just not feeling heard. Maybe I'm not feeling respected, appreciated, valued, understood. So it's really when we are not finding happiness, we have to look at our own mind and say, what is the story we're telling ourselves that's creating that? If we're telling ourselves life's always going to be one of limitation, hard, loss, pain, sorrow, suffering, whatever, that's generally what we're going to look for because we're going to want to affirm it. But if we want to affirm happiness, joy, abundance, all the good things, kindness, empathy, compassion, understanding, then we have to train our mind and heart to be in that place to be able to receive it.